Good evening, everyone. I'm sorry we were just a few minutes delayed this evening. This Board of Education since 6 o'clock this evening has been in closed session for appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the district. Litigation when an action against, affecting, or on behalf of a particular district has been filed or is pending before a court or administrative tribunal. Setting of a price of sale of property owned by the district, collective negotiating matters of the district, and finally, student disciplinary cases. So with that, I will entertain a motion to come out of closed session.
Motion to come out of closed. Second.
A motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. And hold on one second here. This thing is slow. Welcome those of you that are here or those of you that are watching on the World Wide Web. Our mission is to educate students to be self-directed learners, collaborative workers, complex thinkers, quality producers, and community contributors. And with that, I will ask our board secretary for a roll call.
Donna Wanke present, Susan Price, Terry Fielden, Jackie Romberg, Mike Yensch, and Kristen Fitzgerald.
Thank you very much. We don't have students here this evening, but if you could stand as you're able for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. And good news.
Sure, a number of great news items have come across my desk in the last week. I'll just share a few highlights. Naperville North High School jazz musicians cleaned up at the Rolling Meadows Jazz Festival Saturday in a competition involving 115 performing groups from 5 states. The Jazz Ensemble was one of 4 groups selected to perform in finals and then placed first in Class 4A. So congratulations to the North Jazz musicians. Washington Junior High School held its all-school read event last Thursday night. Kids read Under the Egg, an art history mystery, then participated in a series of games, puzzles, and competitions. I call this to your attention for good news because it really celebrates our relationship with many of our local businesses. Organizations like Pino's Palette, Egg Harbor Cafe, David's Teas, Four Lakes Ski Area, and Esther Hayes Insurance and Janner Sports all donated goods or services to support the event that they had at Washington Junior High School, including Anderson's Bookstore, from which the home and school purchased books for the kids to read. And then also on Saturday, Naperville Education Foundation hosted their annual Yucks for Youth event. It was a great hit, a lot of fun. One of the things that they did was try to raise money to help support their, that night, kind of in addition to money they raised through the event itself, was an additional donation, seeking donations up to $1,000 to help support their Start the Day breakfast campaign. And there was a challenge by one of our local businesses that if $1,000 was raised, then it would be matched by Amber Waves. And there was a $1,000 match. So we collected $1,560 for the Start the Day campaign and then earned the $1,000 match. So $2,500 plus earned just for the Start the Day program. So great news, and then hope to have a report from NEF eventually on how much was earned to support our kids.
Great, thank you. Great news. At this portion of the every one of our meetings, we have public comment. I don't have any slips of anybody that would like to speak. If you're here and you would like to speak, of course, we would allow you to speak. But just to review the rules, in case you're watching and you have something you would like to share at another meeting, if you're representing an individual yourself, you would have 3 minutes to speak to the board, or a group 5 minutes. So if you're thinking of presenting something to us or chatting with us about something, you'll keep that in mind. Our student ambassadors are not here this evening. Superintendent School Staff Report.
Again, invite Principal Wiesbrook and Assistant Principal Thornton to come to the presentation table. Our report for the Board of Education tonight continues in our series of school improvement plan updates from our various schools. At our work session each month, we invite one of our school buildings to come present the Board of Education with information, a little bit more detail about what they're doing in their school, in the area of school improvement. And so tonight, we are going to hear from our friends at Naperville Central High School. So I will turn it over to them.
Thank you. See if I can successfully negotiate this microphone. I've seen
Two blue.
Doesn't sound like it yet.
No, two blue lights. I don't think you're there yet.
All right, I think
There
I got
you go. You're golden.
Good evening. The leadership team at Naperville Central High School has embraced the School Improvement Rising Star process. I'd like to share with you a bit about the process and the details of our plan to improve Naperville Central High School. I believe you should be somewhat familiar with the process used by all district schools. The check marks on our slide represent the steps that we've already completed, and the final 2 steps are still in progress. It was critical at the beginning that we select people for our Rising Star team that would contribute and give us some diversity and perspective as we work towards our school improvement goals. This slide shows the roster of our Rising Star team. You'll see there are 13 members. 8 of the members serve as either teachers or instructional coordinators who also teach, and 5 of the members are building administrators. The next slide, as you know, the process is grounded in best practice research of highly successful schools. Each team member independently read the research indicators and independently assessed the priority for Naperville Central on a 1 through 3 scale. We then met as a team to compare our scores and reach a consensus on the priorities for Naperville Central High School. We met several times and ultimately selected the following 2 indicators to serve as our school improvement goals, and you see them there. At the top, that's the language used in the indicator, and below is a little more school-friendly language that we've used to communicate these 2 goals to our school community. The next slide at the top shows the 2 goals that we selected. On the top is we already did that. All students and all staff members will feel safe and respected at Naperville Central High School, and all teachers will differentiate instruction in response to individual student learning needs. The graphic that you see is a district graphic that includes high-quality instruction, a multi-level system of support, collaboration, and implementing culturally responsive practices. We believe our 2 goals align with those district initiatives. On the next slide, I'd like to highlight some of the specific tasks that we believe will help us reach our first goal of all students and all staff members feeling safe and respected at Naperville Central High School. You'll see the first task is what we've called our Be the 3 campaign at Naperville Central High School. This emphasizes positive behavior and support on the part of the 3rd person who might be aware of inappropriate behavior occurring in the school building. We feel good about this campaign and slogan and plan for it to continue. We believe that participation in extracurricular activities help our students feel invested in their school experience, and this is reinforced by results shown in our senior exit survey and student GPAs. Training and staff development on social emotional learning standards is also included among our tasks. The next slide starts with how will we know if we achieve our goal? We'll know we've met our goal when we see an annual decrease of 5% on disciplinary referrals sent to the dean's office. We want to see that at least 90% of our students have a sense of belonging at Naperville Central High School, and that at least 95% of our students tell us they feel supported by the Naperville Central staff. Finally, we want to see an annual increase in the percentage of students involved in at least one extracurricular activity. And now Mrs. Thornton will highlight our second goal.
Thank you. The second goal we selected is that all teachers will differentiate instruction in response to individual student learning needs. Over the past 5 years, we've had 80 to 83% of our students meet or exceed standards on the Prairie State Achievement Exam. In order to get to 100% of our students meeting or exceeding college readiness benchmarks, we must differentiate instruction to meet the needs of individual students. We have several tasks listed in our plan to help us reach this goal. Last February, it's listed as number 2 in the tasks, we asked our staff to complete a survey that helped us measure current states of implementation for both of our school improvement goals. This assessment data, coupled with department professional learning goals, helped us identify 17 learning strands that were presented at the beginning of the school year to teachers at both high schools. These strands are facilitated in large part by teacher leaders at our schools and provide our staff with choice in what they'd like to learn and implement in order to meet our goals. You'll also notice continued curriculum development and training for our staff in assessment design and further learning on how to interpret assessment data to make instructional decisions as important tasks in our effort to meet the needs of each student at Naperville Central. This slide shows the list of learning strands that our teachers chose from at the beginning of this school year. The goal of the learning strands is to provide sustained professional learning in a single aspect of our complex school improvement goals. Strands will have a total of 6 meeting times over the course of the school year, and we look forward to determining how this professional learning has impacted classroom instruction through teacher reflections at the end of the year. We will know we have met our differentiation goal in several ways. We will gather evidence from teachers both through the evaluation process and in their classrooms. We will gather evidence through our student analytics system and ultimately through student achievement. You'll notice that we've set a goal of 88% of our students graduating college and career ready as measured through the PARCC assessment by the end of the 2016-2017 school year. This was an initial goal based on current student performance levels and is the first goal on our path to 100% of students at Naperville Central being college and career ready.
In closing, we feel that it's critical that all of our students and our staff feel safe and respected at Naperville Central High School. These pictures represent photographs of students who appear to be feeling good about their school experience. We know that most of our students already feel good about their school experience. Most of our students and staff feel safe and respected at Naperville Central, but our goal is that all of our students and all of our staff feel this way.
These pictures are from our recent Institute Day, and these are teachers facilitating the professional development of their colleagues in our assessment design learning strand. One thing that made the most recent meeting unique is that in the photo on the left you see 2 of our current Naperville Central Intro to Teaching students were there with us as well, so that they could learn what happens on professional learning days and what teachers embark on when they're not at school. And it's my hope that their takeaway was that teachers use that time to collaborate, in this case to better design assessments because that's the goal of that strand, but always to better design instruction to meet the needs of our students.
And finally, in closing, we feel like a highly motivated student body and staff, along with high-quality instruction and support, can make our school even better than we already are. So thank you, and at this time, we'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Awesome. Questions or comments from the board? Anyone? Donna? Yep.
Thank you for your presentation. And so the 2 goals that you've designated are just for this year. Were they ones that you started last year, or like are some of the measures that you have, like how we will know already? Like, do you have some of the statistics from last year already?
Some of those tasks have been met. So they were our goals last year, and a majority of the things that we were able to say we've met this goal was simply gathering baseline data. So it is our goal at the end of this school year to have the initial measure from our students on where we're at in implementation of those goals. But the differentiation goal we have listed as a target date is June 2017.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Kristen?
Hi, thanks for being here. I think it's our first high school that we've heard from in this process of the school improvement plan, so it's great to hear from a high school level. I was wondering a little bit about your feel connected and feel supported goals. What factors have you identified to be the most important in developing those kinds of feelings?
First of all, we've been surveying our seniors just a few weeks before they graduate for about the past 5 years. And some of those survey questions include, and it's an anonymous survey, things like, I feel safe in the school building, I feel that students respect one another, I was treated with respect and understanding by my teachers, I was treated with respect and understanding by non-teaching personnel, the school staff was responsive when problems were reported. And so we've been gathering that data for the last 5 years, and we use some of that data to base our percentage goals of where we want to be in the future. Now I'm hesitating. I'm wondering if I answered your question.
I know that many times students will point to relationship with a particular staff member or teacher. So you got on that a little bit when you talked about how they were treated by their teachers. I'm just wondering if you, do you come up with any kind of roadblocks towards that? Are there actions that you can take that help to support those kinds of things? Do teachers have enough time in the day to make those kinds of relationships? I mean, I think I'm just piecing backwards from your feeling connected and feeling supported and wondering what kinds of things you're working on, or if you have encountered things where you need assistance.
Sure.
I would say that what we have done this year with culturally responsive practices has been focused on making a connection with students on an individual basis. And we really see the implementation of culturally responsive teaching practices as the connecting point for both of our school improvement goals, because you have to be able to know the student to be able to make that connection. And without that knowledge of the student, you can't differentiate instruction. So we're looking at the highest level of implementation of those goals combined. But what we have emphasized with our staff is being mindful in all of the aspects of a student's identity that they bring to their classrooms, and making an effort to know their students as individuals and helping make that connection through personal relationships. And then ultimately that is going to pay dividends in allowing the teacher to be able to differentiate instruction to meet their needs as well.
Right.
So that's the angle that we've taken for culturally responsive, is all about making a connection with that student.
Great.
I just further add that in the evaluation process for teachers, and more than half of our teachers are evaluated each year, we've emphasized amongst the evaluators in the pre-conference before we step into their classroom to check in with teachers about any struggling students and what they've done to identify extra support that they need. So we are kind of emphasizing our focus for helping to emphasize our focus for teachers on getting to know those students and perhaps their families that might be struggling.
Great, thank you.
Awesome. Any other comments or questions? Fabulous.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Those are our reports this evening.
Okey-doke. I do not have a report this evening. Are there any Board of Education reports? I think we talked about yucks. That was great. Any other? I'll entertain a motion for the consent agenda, please.
I move to approve the consent agenda items 7.01 and 7.02 as presented.
Second.
Great. We have a motion and a second for the consent agenda. Mrs. Bell, please.
Yench,
Hi.
Price,
Yes.
Fitzgerald,
Aye.
Wanke. Yes. Fielden,
Yes.
Romberg.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you very much. And we have a number of things in discussion without action, which generally, but not always, means that it will come up later for an actionable item that the board will vote on. But we'll start with, I'll turn it over to our superintendent as we get this, go on our merry way.
I am pleased to have our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, Jane Willard, and our Director of Curriculum and Instruction, Jennifer Donatelli, here for the first three reports on discussion without action. They're going to run through one deck of slides here with pauses after each topic for questions from the board, because these are proposed for action at our next meeting, and they'll have to be acted on independently. So, but I think they all kind of tie in together, so they have it as one PowerPoint here, and they'll pause after each topic in each outcome. So with that, I'll turn it over for the first topic to our team.
Great. Good evening. Tonight, Jennifer Donatelli and myself are here to recommend the new junior high and high school science curriculum, also the new high school courses, title changes, and credit changes for 2016-17 implementation, and then also to recommend new instructional resources to support curriculum and instruction. We're going to begin the evening by presenting the new science curriculum and the work our staff has engaged in this year as they plan for implementation this fall.
Last June, the Science Curriculum Leadership Team presented an overview of the Next Generation Science Standards and the recommended pathway for board approval. As you recall, the performance expectations are the standards, which incorporates all three dimensions that are outlined by the framework. The performance expectations describe what the students will know and be able to do at the end of a unit of instruction and are also the basis for assessments. They are designed so that students continually build and revise on their knowledge and abilities in an intentional progression of learning. If you notice back to the 3 dimensions, the science, the disciplinary core ideas are the content, and then students learn about that content through engaging in the science and engineering practices. The cross-cutting concepts are just a way for students to be able to connect information both within and across grade levels and disciplines. This year, our curriculum teams studied those performance expectations, and they created a progression of learning by organizing them into units of instruction. These year-long grade level and course unit maps have been uploaded to board docs. This slide represents the work that the curriculum team has completed to date. The team began the year with one of the writers of the Next Generation Science Standards that came in and was able to provide some professional learning about how to design instruction focused on the Next Generation Science Standards. This learning helped to deepen their knowledge about the standards and also show them how they can take those standards and design units and lessons that are aligned to the 3 dimensions. The teams took the work that they had completed in the summer, some of the drafts, and they made some revisions based on cross-grade level collaboration and articulation. And the teams are in the process right now of actually taking the standards on the documents that you have seen on board docs and are creating their units and identifying some key labs and activities to go along with those. The chemistry team is going to spend extra time this year creating assessments and then also finalizing semester 1 units for the fall for the 2015-16 implementation. This slide depicts one of the units from the chemistry year-long maps, or year-long overviews, I should say, and it's a sample of the curriculum that you were able to view on board docs. Through cross-grade level articulation, each grade and course arranged the performance expectations into units of instruction, and then they highlight those key cross-cutting concepts and those science and engineering practices that should be the focus. As you notice, there are multiple performance expectations that are within 1 unit of instruction. These are the documents that they're using to build and create their units. This year, time was also spent preparing all science teachers for implementation. This past fall, high school teachers engaged in professional learning and modeling techniques, and this professional learning helped focus on an instructional framework which allows for student ownership of the learning through inquiry. Last Friday, we had a wonderful opportunity to have all of our district grades 6 through 12 teachers attend County Institute at Naperville Central High School, and we actually had one of the writers of the standards come in and provide professional learning for all of our staff so that we were all on the same page and help build that foundational knowledge together around the Next Generation Science Standards. The grade levels were actually able to share those year-long overviews that you see on board docs with all of the teachers, just to give them a preview. And then the chemistry team was able to meet with all of the chemistry teachers that will be teaching students in the fall, showing them what the first unit of instruction looks like and also engaging them in 2 of the first labs, just so that they could experience what the students will be experiencing in the fall. This summer, we're going to offer more professional learning around modeling and also engaging students in the science and engineering practices. What does that look like? All chemistry teachers will have time to review the new curriculum, the new assessments, and actually plan for semester 1 together. At the end of the board presentation, there is a slide depicting the high school pathways that we had presented in June, just for your reference. I will now open it up for any questions regarding the science curriculum.
Questions or comments? Very exciting.
It is. I really love this. And it looks like is that your next presentation? So I'm mingling presentations because I'm reading them. So I might talk a little bit about this. How we pushed. It looks like we've pushed what was the science class in high school? My brain is a little fuzzy.
DES.
DES down to junior high. It looks like that
Actually-
to some extent. Not the class itself, but the concepts that were being taught in there.
Content.
The content. So some physics, some astronomy. Looks like that's really being pushed down into junior high. That content, not DES itself. That's not what I'm suggesting at all. But I know we found value in DES because it introduced kids to these topics. I really like that. I really like that we're pushing that down to junior high. I think that our kids, that content, I think they're capable of it. I think there's some really interesting things in there they do. I know they do lots of hands-on work, and I'm sure that's what you're planning on doing, that they can learn a lot about the sort of basic introduction to those big science concepts. So I'm really excited about this. And now I know we started, when my daughter was in 5th grade, we started a new science curriculum then. So there's some science curriculum in elementary school that was very hands-on. They were doing a lot of these things, so it seems to be bringing that up from elementary school a little bit as well and building on those things. And I love the topic areas as well. They're interesting. They've got some really substantive information in there, a real opportunity to do a lot of project-based work that I know we want kids to do, collaborative, working together. It's an opportunity for coaching. I think that they're really, I hope, they're going to get a lot out of it. It seems very exciting to me. I would enjoy doing it. So.
Well, good. I'm going to say yes, yes, and yes to everything you just said. And one reason is what these new standards are allowing is for the integration, but in a very intentional way. So when we think about the integration, we were saying moving down into junior high, is we will be continuing those science concepts in an integrated way so that by the time they get to freshman year, they are absolutely prepared for that lab science of chemistry. We also will be starting with our K-5 team next year as we look at redeveloping curriculum for science. So that team will engage in the same process next year, so it's very exciting.
Yeah, I don't like to think of it as redeveloping. It's sort of it's constantly moving forward
Right.
and evolving, and you know what we know about kids and what they're building on and what they need to know. I also love the engineering component of this because inherent in engineering is problem solving. It combines that mathematics in sort of a really almost, it's that numeracy, how you're using math, how are we problem solving, what can we put together for this, which I think has applications to so many things in learning, learning how to bring maybe disparate elements together. How do we solve this problem? It's an approach to learning that's really integral, and I think it's a terrific integration of that into curriculum as a whole.
Good.
Very excited.
Yes.
I also appreciate all the detail and all the hard work that you guys have put in. I especially appreciate the fact that you are allowing time for 6 through 12 to collaborate together. Years ago, I was on a math committee that did the similar kind of, well, it was K-12, but it was similar, and it's just invaluable, the amount of time. And I know that it's hard to get the subs and the buildings and all the teachers together, but it's just invaluable, and I think that it really sets us apart, so I appreciate that. I'm looking at your chart for the that has the colored coded, and I guess I just want to look just to understand and for the community to understand. So are the ones in bold, that the performance expectations that are in bold, that are labeled like, I'm looking at the 6th grade. I should look at the one in your presentation. But it's like the first one that's bold. Is that actually the next generation science standard?
Yes.
Okay. But then everything else on that page is district created, correct?
Actually, no, the way the standards are built, they have one core idea, a cross-cutting concept, and a science and engineering practice incorporated within. It's like built within the statement. So each standard starts out with a science and engineering practice. So what we're trying to do is pull it out, because sometimes you don't know what that actual practice or cross-cutting concept is, so you have to make it a little bit more clear. So we were able to pull those out so that you could see in a glance what those key practices you're going to hit in that unit. But it is available on the Next Generation Science Standards site. There it's nice because you can just click on the standard and it changes color for you. So yeah. So we just pull them out.
One of the biggest questions that I've gotten from community members is the difference between, or that I've had to explain, and I'm hoping that you can explain now just briefly, but the difference between the standards that are coming from Common Core and then now the next generation science standards and what curriculum that what we're doing as a district curriculum wise. And I think that there's a lot of confusion that those are the two and the same things, you know, like the curriculum is being driven by those standards, but I think that, I'll let you answer the question, but I think that there's confusion that they think, that some of the community thinks that the standards are driving what we're doing down to what the teacher's presenting in the classroom, like down to that minutia. And I think that there's a different, I don't know if you could speak to it better than that, but.
Well, just to clarify, that
What
the standards are the
I'm going
specific.
to ask it a different way. I think what you're getting at.
Okay.
Can you explain for the board and the community the difference between the standard and the curriculum?
Yep,
Right,
that's
and
what
when
I
we
have.
think, and when we
Very
think
good.
about the standard, so the standard does drive, the standards are driving our curriculum. But what we do is we start, so when you're looking here, you're seeing the next generation science standards, and as we organize those into what is that going to look like for the year, then what our curriculum team does is take those standards and say, what does that mean for us as a district when we start looking at how do we plan our activities? What do our labs look like? What are we going to assess? So this is what we start with, and then we shape our curriculum around these standards. Okay?
Thank you.
Yep.
Kristen?
I want to be sure I have the timeframes right. I know in the overview it says that these will be beginning in the 16-17 year, but are we beginning next year in junior high?
Yes.
Is that what it looks like?
Well, no, what we're starting
Okay.
with next year is next year we'll be implementing chemistry. So next year will just be chemistry. The following year then will be 6th, 7th, and 8th, biology and physics. The following year then is when we will roll out our K-5.
Okay, so it says here grades 6 through 8 biology and physics in 15-16, right? So next year.
No, that will be in 16, 17. If it's
Okay.
in there, then that needs a correction.
Okay,
Yep, that would need a correction.
okay. So chemistry across the board in every grade, and then in 16, 17, all the rest, including the piloting in junior high of biology and physics.
Yes,
Okay, yeah,
yes.
it says 15, 16.
Okay, then we'll make
Okay.
that correction.
No problem.
Right,
Okay.
and so next year will be a unique year for us because we will have freshmen in chemistry, but we will also have we'll have some sophomores and then some possibly juniors within chemistry as well.
Okay,
So that will be there next year, and then will be similar for biology the following year.
okay.
Yeah, and as you know, all this work that they're doing on the science curriculum is aligned to our strategic blueprint, focus, or the commitment number 118A, which focuses on aligning our new science curriculum to the new next generation science standards. So again, just a reminder for everyone, just because it sits in 18 doesn't mean we wait till 2018 to do the work. And in this case, it's work that we've begun immediately, but it's going to take some time to develop and to roll out.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I know this Board of Education, I think it was 2 summers ago in a planning session with our superintendent, all had very spirited conversation
Yes.
about science. So thank you. It means a great deal to us. We've all been, heard from the community people, as Donna points out, have had our kids in the programs. So it's near and dear to us. So thank you so much.
Okay, our next outcome will be for me to share the recommended new courses for the high school, the title changes and the credit changes, and this will be for the 2016-17 school year. Tonight, we're recommending 2 new courses. Both high schools have worked collaboratively to propose Spanish language and culture for Spanish speakers and also the STEM inquiry and research capstone. Spanish language and culture for Spanish speakers is a freshman level course and is designed for our dual language students as a transitional course to AP and will be offered at both Naperville Central and at Naperville North. This course will also be open to students who demonstrate the Spanish proficiencies that are essential for this course. The STEM inquiry and research capstone is designed to give students the opportunity to participate in a self-directed inquiry in any aspect of the area of STEM. Students will select and design a course of study in math or science and will work with a mentoring teacher who will support them with the production of a final research project. If approved, teams of teachers from both schools will come together to develop the curriculum and the assessment for both of these courses. Tonight, we are recommending one high school name change. The changing the social studies capstone course name to humanities inquiry and the research capstone will now allow for students to broaden their research topics. Similar to the STEM capstone, this course opens up the research options beyond just the social studies. Students will now have the opportunity to conduct authentic research in social studies along with communication arts, fine arts, and also the world and classical languages. We do have one credit change this evening. AP Music Theory is being recommended as from a semester course to actually now a full year course offering. That recommendation does come from College Board. The prescribed curriculum is too extensive for the current semester structure. So right now we would recommend that this would move to a full year offering. Tonight, we do have one course removal for the school year, and we are recommending to remove design concepts as a course during the school year. This is a course that is currently only offered at Naperville North, but has not run in the last 4 years. This course is not currently being offered at Naperville Central, and this removal of this course gets us closer to aligning our course offerings at both high schools. This course does, however, run during the summer offering. This is a course really designed as a transitional course to high school art. And so right now, currently, even in our summer offerings, we have 11 students enrolled in that course, but we are not seeing the enrollment during the school year. I will open up for any questions regarding any of the high school courses, name changes, or credit changes at this time.
Questions?
Love the STEM capstone project. That's terrific. And I know I've had a student participate in what was the social and had a great experience with it. It's run so well by our teachers. At least my experience was certainly, I don't want to generalize, wonderful. Very involved and engaged. It's a wonderful opportunity for students. Are they going to be able, if they were, for example, to connect with a researcher outside of the school, could they work with that researcher outside of the school and have time to go do that, to go, work at Northwestern if they were to find a researcher who would allow them come in?
That's what we're working on right now, and we'll work with the ICs to think about that research opportunity outside of just our classrooms. What does it look like within our broader community as well?
That's really exciting. That's very cool. Good.
Quick question, but not for you to answer tonight because I
Okay.
didn't. But I had a community member ask me about traditional grammar, and I went back to try to see, like we don't offer that anymore. But I went back to try to see. It must have been before I was on the board that it was pulled off. So if you, I just don't know. They asked why it was pulled, where it was, where it was. If it was put in the summer, if it was, I don't remember ever approving it. So it must have been back years ago. I don't know where the question came from, but I didn't give you a heads up. I don't expect you to know that. Traditional grammar. And the question was involved because it was so imperative for their student for testing. There's a lot of grammar on the college testing. So if you, I don't, like I said, it's not part of what you did, but I didn't want to lose it. So
Right, and I'll add that. But one thing I will add, though, is even as we upgraded our courses, our communication arts courses last year, we did, within all of our courses, of course, we definitely have grammar component within those courses, but I will get more information on that grammar course. Kristen.
I have a question about the Spanish language and culture for Spanish speakers. So this will be the transition course for the dual language program. So you expect the kids to come. Actually, it sounds like it will actually change a little bit. Right now, they're all at Jefferson, but they would then now go back to their home school, Naperville North or Central.
We will offer that at
both.
both sites.
And they'll take this one course and then go on to AP.
What they would do is then they would go into AP language, and then they'd go to AP literature. And currently right now, or AP Spanish literature, we don't have students enrolled in the AP Spanish literature. One is because of the rigor of that course. And what we're hoping is that our students at this point, having that transitional 9th grade course, then they have that AP Spanish language, that they would then at that point be prepared and that we could run that AP Spanish literature course.
But other than that, you would expect that they would kind of go into the normal course offerings, but then just have this would be sort of the end of their language studies.
Yes, that would be, we would do it through these AP prep designs.
But you'll also allow those who are able, proficiency-wise, to come in?
Yes.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
I just had Michael, did you have a question? The new course, oh, where did I lose it here? The Spanish language and culture, the new one, the Spanish language, that's not an AP class.
No.
Okay.
That really is designed to prepare students for
That's
the
what I
AP.
wondered. I was wondering, because I thought, it can have that kind of rigor, but there's also an association that there's an exam at the end, whether they take the class or not take it. So thank you for the clarification. When I was listening to you, I thought it was an AP class. I just wanted to make sure. Awesome. Thank you so much. Very informative. Any other comments or questions on course title changes and new courses? No? Okay.
Okay, so our final recommendation this evening are the new instructional resources to support curriculum. And these will be for the 2015-16 implementation. In board docs, you will find a comprehensive list of all of the recommended instructional resources. Many of these resources support our newly implemented literacy curriculum. This year, we did gather feedback from teachers regarding additional resource needs to support the new curriculum. You will also find recommended resources for high school that will replace dated materials. These resources do have a digital component as well as a print option. This will allow for the flexibility for the teachers and also for the students. You will also find ELL resources right on board docs, and these resources are for our middle school ELL students and teachers. All of our resources have been reviewed and evaluated by both teacher teams and administration as well. I will open any questions for instructional resources.
Comments or questions? Sure.
Okay, so as I was going through the detailed list that you provided for us, I noticed that you have like resource adoption, and then we have extended text adoption. What is the difference between those? And then I'll give you both questions. And then on some of the extended text adoption, we don't do like a quantity and a total cost. We just have a list price. And so I was just trying to understand the difference between your charts.
Our extended text are when we think of novels. So let's say for both junior high and then also high school. One reason on the high schools we don't add a quantity is because there are some choice within those texts. So the students will choose which text within a text set that a teacher would put together. So we couldn't really say this class will all read this text and have an amount because there is some student choice involved in that decision.
Any other questions?
Okay.
Michael?
Actually, my only question was, are these still all on paper?
Are these extended text on paper?
Everything in paper?
Not everything. A lot of this does have a print option as well, but when you work with publishers, they'll give you, or a digital option. They will give you the print even if you just want the digital.
Okay, but I guess my question would be, do the kids have the option to, on certain of these novels or short stories or books, whatever, to actually get the digital copy?
We could do that when we think about our digital learning initiative and what our next steps are.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
Right.
We're not doing it yet.
We're not yet. And
Okay.
so even these prices, so these prices right now that you see in board docs do represent a text.
That was my question.
What we have with
Okay.
Anderson's. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Would the digital be more, or probably not? The digital is...
Actually, sometimes it is, and it
Yeah.
depends. One thing with publishers at this point, not everything is available digitally. And so we'd have to seek what type of options we'd want to, do you purchase a one-time cost? Do you do a checkout system like your public library?
Right.
But that would all come out
Right.
of those decisions moving forward with our digital
Well,
learning
I just find it
initiative.
interesting if you just want a digital option and you automatically get the paper option. It
Right,
seems-
and that's for textbooks. When we
Right,
think
right.
about, they still
right,
will give us those papered materials.
Right.
Yeah.
Sounds great. Any other comments or questions? Oh, Michael.
Yeah,
sorry.
because coming back to that, since Jackie brought that up, because I thought it was wonderful. I mean, I recognized so many titles, and I've read a bunch of them, And I'm pretty sure all the ones I read are available on a Kindle.
Right.
I mean, there are so many recognizable titles, I find it hard to believe they're not available digitally. And I know even a lot of old folks like me that, don't even buy regular books anymore. So I'm really surprised that, I know we like to do things, deliberately, but it seems to me a lot of students would just as soon carry a tablet around than, a bunch of books.
Yeah, and we are coming kind of to end of our digital learning initiative, our pilots on some of the one-to-one, and where the team is formulating some recommendations. I met a little earlier with some staff regarding kind of the status. We expect a little bit later this spring to come to the Board of Education with a report and a recommendation for moving forward.
Making a note. Thanks. Any other comments or questions? Thank you very much. We learned a lot. I think we all we love this. Love these types of meetings where we can kind of get up to speed from a macro perspective. Thank you again. Next item, 8.04, K-8 certified staffing.
Great. Annually, the administration presents projections to the Board of Education for staffing plans. In March, we're coming to you with our projected elementary and junior high school staffing, and then in April we will have high school and district special education. A document has been loaded for you in board docs. You can see that we anticipate and project at this time at elementary and junior high school to be down to reduce by 12.65 FTE, and this is a result of projected declining enrollment. Assistant Superintendent for Elementary Education, Kitty Ryan. Assistant Superintendent for Secondary Education, Bob Ross. Work with principals and staff to prepare these projections. Again, this doesn't necessarily represent what the final staffing will be, but it's what we project to need based off of our enrollment projections. So, Kitty, Bob, I don't know that we have a formal presentation. If there's any information you care to share for the board, or be ready to answer any questions.
We're very happy to answer any questions tonight about the staffing projection.
Yeah.
When do you expect the high school?
April.
Any other comments?
So I heard you say, Dan, that it's due to decreasing enrollment. So our student-teacher ratio isn't changing at all with that. I didn't think so. I just want to make sure for the community to know.
Right. At the middle school level, we're applying the same standard, the same class averages are our targets. It's just there are less students, and therefore will be less teachers.
And I can say the same for the elementary. We're using the same parameters as we've used every year.
Any other comments or questions? Okey doke. Thank you very much. Next agenda item, Career 203 update.
Okay. Chief Human Resources Officer Carol Hetman and our Director of Career 203, Gina Herman, are making their way to the presentation table. They'll share with you tonight a report on recommendations from the Career 203 Recommendations Committee. This is called for in our collective bargaining agreement with the Naperville Unit Education Association. And so it calls for a presentation to the board on recommendations to changes to the Career 203 model. And so I will turn it over to our team to present those recommendations to you.
Good evening. This evening, we'd like to provide you with some information regarding the current state of Career 203, and then present our assessment committee's recommended changes for the 2015-16 implementation guide. Career 203 is District 203's professional growth model, and it was created to reward educators for participation in relevant and rigorous educational opportunities that meet the evolving needs of the district and our students. Educators are now engaging in various learning experiences, such as the creation and facilitation of professional learning courses, research, lesson study, series of courses, curriculum development, and a series of professional learning experiences. The assessment committee meets annually to review the programs, the utilization of bricks, and overall participation in the program. The committee's responsibility is to recommend changes, which are then proposed to the Board of Education for approval. Compensation under Career 203 is either points, which accumulate to lane movement on the salary schedule, or it can be one-time payments. 85% of District 203's educators are career educators, and they earn points. One-time payments are earned for earning a doctorate degree, national board certification, chairing committees, or facilitating professional learning courses. Educators who are at the end of the salary schedule are also able to earn and accumulate points to earn a $1,500 one-time payment. District 203 employs approximately 1,370 certified staff. 85% of our educators are career educators who have earned a master's degree. 15% of the educators are emerging educators who have not yet earned a master's degree. As you see on this slide, the traditional university coursework continues to drive lane advancement. However, new opportunities created under Career 203, specifically the series of professional learning experiences, research and creating and facilitating professional learning courses, are becoming more popular among our educators and are directly aligned to the district's work and blueprint.
The greatest benefit of Career 203 is the teamwork of district and building personnel to establish learning opportunities that have immediate and direct impact on an educator's role. These opportunities enhance student learning experiences and promote student growth. The BRIC series of professional learning experiences is generating the most significant amount of points outside of the traditional university coursework. District leadership increasingly collaborates with educators to deliberately construct learning experiences. The natural growth of this BRIC presents itself as district partnerships develop to sustain Career 203, a system that enriches and energizes educators to ensure District 203's high-performance culture to the staff and the staff's passion for lifelong learning.
Career 203 is dedicated to meeting the district's needs and mission. Therefore, an ongoing assessment process was established to evaluate the dynamics of the program on a yearly basis. By contract, the assessment committee meets in order to review performance of the BRICS, unforeseen issues which are brought forward, and the overall performance of the model. Our committee met in January and has reviewed the program. We're here this evening to present to the Board of Education recommendations for some modifications to the program.
The first one we will focus on is the BRIC Take One. Over the last 25 years, the National Board has advanced teaching profession by establishing and maintaining the definitive standards of accomplished teaching. In order to make the NBCT process the norm for all educators, National Board has revised its certification process. The more holistic approach of the revised NBCT process has resulted in the removal of Take One. Take One is a learning experience that was required for successful completion of the National Board. The Career 203 Committee recommends the Career 203 Implementation Guide is reflected of the new NBCT standards and requirements by removing the BRIC Take One. The expansion of District 203's professional growth system, Career 203, has resulted in the need for a new BRIC, District Cohort Facilitator. This BRIC will allow certified staff the opportunity to execute an adult learning session. The learning session is run through the Learning Services Department and must meet expectations set forth by Learning Services. The Career 203 Committee recommends the BRIC District Cohort Facilitator be added to the Career 203 Implementation Guide. This school year, District 203 introduced their new educator induction program to promote continuous, ongoing, and connected adult learning that is focused on increasing student learning for all new District 203 educators. The new educator induction program provides a comprehensive system of support that builds on and shares internal knowledge and skills. Career 203 added the BRIC Mentor Coordinator as part of the new teacher induction program. Mentor coordinator responsibilities have been amended to conform to the new teacher induction program. This has resulted in a reduction of responsibilities. The Career 203 committee recommends the compensation for mentor coordinator be moved to $1,250. As noted, the mentor coordinator BRIC was added to the Career 203 implementation guide as part of the new teacher induction program. To avoid confusion of district roles, the Career 203 committee has recommended the BRIC mentor coordinator be changed to the name of lead mentor. The endorsement BRIC currently allows educators to earn up to 210 points. Illinois has changed the credit hour requirements for educators to earn many content-focused endorsements. In partnership with St. Francis University and the DuPage County ROE, Career 203 is currently offering an ESL cohort program to the district's educators. The cohort program was developed in accordance to District 203's mission and Focus 2020. The Career 203 committee recommends increasing the range of points to up to 10 points per credit hour to match the state requirements. The Career 203 Assessment Committee thoroughly reviewed the BRIC Creating and Facilitating a Professional Learning course. While significant professional growth has been achieved by the utilization of this BRIC, the Assessment Committee concurred the initial participation in the BRIC sustains the knowledge necessary to strengthen the district's high-performance culture that benefits student learning by sharing internal knowledge and skills. The repeated engagement in the BRIC strengthens the skills incurred during the initial growth experience. The Career 203 Assessment Committee recommends that repeated engagement in the BRIC, Creating and Facilitating a Professional Learning course, be compensated at $900 for creating and facilitating a 12-hour course and $600 for creating and facilitating a 6-hour course. The new teacher induction program has added 2 valuable BRICs to District 203's professional growth model. The mentor and mentor coordinator BRICs were added to the 2014-2015 Career 203 implementation guide. This year, we are utilizing the mentor BRIC. To clarify the responsibilities of the mentor BRIC, the Career 203 Assessment Committee recommends the additional information be added to Appendix A of the Career 203 implementation guide. The committee thoroughly deliberated all of the recommendations that are being presented to you tonight. We believe that the language additions and changes will contribute to educators improving their practice in significant and meaningful ways to ensure positive student growth. At this time, we'd like to take any questions you may have.
Questions? Comments? Kristen?
Thank you for the description of all these different changes. You've done a great job outlining that. I'm looking for more of a, sometimes we talk about the celebrations and the challenges. Can you give us sort of in your own words where the Career 203 is in terms of that? Like what types of real successes have you seen? What kind of opportunities are you working towards?
Well, one of the things that I think we're very proud of is the fact that for so many years, and prior to Career 203, all the professional growth was focused on university and coursework and certifications and endorsements. And what we're seeing today, by virtue of Career 203, are these new experiences that the educators are welcoming and starting to participate in. And you're starting to see that shift and that percentage shift downward in the university coursework and really focused on professional growth, which will have an impact on the blueprint, everything, our mission, everything that we're doing, and directly correlated to the classroom.
So to add to that, one thing that I would refer back to is the slide that listed the series of professional learning experiences that we have been pushing out. As you heard tonight when Jane Willard and Jenny Donatelli presented, they were discussing the new generation science standards. And in collaboration with them, I've worked with them to create a BRIC in order to recognize the educators who are putting in this extra work as we implement these standards.
And are there areas that you still are working to grow towards?
Yeah, we're always going to work to grow and continue to develop this program. It's unique in nature. We're not modeling off of anybody, and the program has to continue to grow and be open to growth as we're meeting the needs of our students. And everything is always changing in the state of Illinois, with the state of Illinois initiatives, with our district initiatives, but especially to meet the needs of our students.
So I would say, I would add to, in terms of challenges, one you hit on that I would have added was the constant changing environment or scope of what the state presents to us regarding licensure and whatnot. I'd say the other thing that it will be a challenge for a little bit as new educators enter into Career 203 and thinking about choices because it is unique. Some of the logistical and operational things that Gina has done a wonderful job of really working with, building reps in and visiting each of our schools and helping our educators understand it. But that's going to continue to be a little bit of, I don't want to say a challenge that's a bad challenge, but a challenge that's going to require a lot of Gina's time and work in collaboration with the association to really understand how this model works for them.
How it's different.
And as we work with educators, we see more and more teacher satisfaction and appreciation for this as well.
Thank you.
Donna? Yep.
So thank you so much for the innovativeness, and I've always loved what you were doing with this. I've also heard that you have a liaison in each building that's trained to help the teachers in that building, and I was thrilled to hear that from a teacher in the district who said that was really helpful. So thank you for that. I think that helps bridge between the two of you to each teacher, so that's awesome. I remember last year when we talked about this and we had the same update, one of the challenges you mentioned was non-tenured teachers that have a master's degree. Have we worked that out, and then can you explain how?
We removed the tenure piece last year with our changes, so right now the threshold to enter Career 203 BRICS would be just a master's degree, and that is your threshold to become a career educator.
So that, I only talked to a couple of people, but you might want to recommunicate. I'm not sure that everyone understands that. So, but great. Thank you so much for all you've done with this. It's very exciting.
Michael?
Actually, I was going to comment on how impressed I am and how far we've come in just a couple of years, actually. And, that pie chart swinging around. And because I was actually going to say, I love the fact that the lane movement and the progression is so much more student and district directed and focused than it perhaps was in the past. The other thing, and correct me if I'm wrong, that I heard, and I think is a tremendous benefit also, is the conversations that are happening in the building, that may not have happened before. And now because we've laid out these 4 paths and, the building leaders are talking to the teachers about this, I think that's an important and rich conversation that we didn't always have before. And would you agree with that? Because I think that's an important part of the program.
Absolutely. The greatest benefit of the program is the collaboration and the teamwork that we're seeing from district level to building level, all across the board. We have teachers actively engaging in the creation of bricks. We're always getting feedback from our educators, from our building administrators, and we're always working with our district administration as well, too.
Because I know when we first talked about this program, that's the kind of culture, at least I personally was hoping for, and it's so rewarding to hear that it's working the way we hoped it would. So let's see, but hope it keeps on going.
Thank you so much. And just to echo Mike's comments, I remember back when we first started these conversations and the way the teachers really, they had to go and find a program. Maybe it was a university level, maybe it wasn't, but there was quite a range of programming that was awarded, and that for movement on the salary schedule, and that it was a real hard reset to go back and have everybody understand, a huge communication piece, have everyone understand it wasn't as if anything was going to be taken away, it was going to be more organic. And we were going to do this, and to watch now, to reap the benefits, because sitting at that table 30 minutes ago, we saw science just come to life because of all these because of all these new pathways. So thank you. Thank you, thank you.
I know you all know him and you see him here, but I would just say that one of the things that's very important is the collaboration, as Gina mentioned, between the administration and NUEA. So Mark being here, I think NUEA, as you see from the contract language, this is a partnership to talk about what's working and how can the system
Very
be
exciting.
improved. So that is one of the very exciting things, is that continued partnership between the association and the administration.
That's a very good point. The NUA often invites me to their meetings to talk.
That's great.
So it's been great.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Mark, you're going to share that comment that we just made with the NUEA, since another big part of the NUEA just came in. Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you. Joyce is here. Hold on one second. Let me brief set my little... our next topic this evening is the first reading of Policy 7.180, Preventing Bullying, Intimidation, and Harassment. And there's a good reason for this timing.
I'll make a couple introductory comments while Deputy Superintendent Osborne maybe grabs the microphone, because I see you don't have one. And I know you have a great voice that carries. We're going to ask you to speak in the microphone.
His teacher voice is
right?
very strong.
Okay. State legislation has required update to this policy, and we must file our updated policy with the Regional Office of Education by April 15th. So that's why we're bringing this to you now, and I'll turn it over to Kane, now that he has a microphone, to talk to you about this policy.
All right, and as you can see from the current policy that we have and the proposed policy, the changes, I did note that the proposed policy was originally drafted by Press, who we work with on a regular basis for policy revision. Also, the ISBE has also given their kind of stamp of approval, which they don't necessarily do for press revisions, but they have in this case. And also we've had our district council review it and not make any suggested revisions to it. She agrees that this is a good way to go. So other than that, I'm just here to answer any questions this time around and gather any feedback before you approve it.
Kane, just a point of clarification before people ask their questions or make their comments. This will be presented to the discipline committee, which is coming up, I think, this week.
No, it doesn't go to the discipline committee. It's not necessarily. 7190 is the discipline policy. This has, however, been shared with many of the same stakeholders. It's been shared with deans, principals, and with general home and school. Has gotten a look at this also. There is part of the policy that does have it every 2 years. It's reviewed and gone through a process where stakeholders look at it and any potential revisions to it.
I haven't been on that committee in a while, but it certainly looked like it had the spirit of something.
It does, and it makes extensive reference to discipline policy.
Our initial intent was to bring it at the same time we did 7190, but the timelines just didn't.
No, no problem with that at all. Any comments or questions about 7.180? And again, we'll vote. Go ahead, Kristen.
I'm so glad that we're including cyberbullying. I think it's a great addition to the policy.
Yeah, very relevant.
And timely.
Right. Any comments or questions? Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, and we will look forward to having that on our agenda for action. Our next agenda item is the debt service levy.
All right, our chief school business official, Brad Kaufman, is going to move to the presentation table and speak with the Board of Education about our recommendation not to abate the 2014 debt service tax levy. Should the Board of Education decide that it wishes to abate, we must file that. The deadline in Will and DuPage counties is March 31st. So any action, if there will be action, will be recommended at the March 16th Board of Education meeting. Brad?
Thank you, Superintendent Bridges.
We're going to do a professional learning for all of our presenters on turning on the microphone.
It is on.
Oh, it is? Sorry, move it closer.
Oh, sorry. I'll just get a little closer.
Yeah.
But it is on.
There's zero tolerance, or
zero.
Everybody
talk about cyberbullying.
Yeah, right. That wasn't cyber. That was right at you.
That's right.
Poor Brad is still coming off. As you can see, he's kind of a one-armed man right now, so I should cut him.
Yeah, that's right. So let's not have any pity on him.
Yeah, give me my hand.
He would have moved that microphone closer if his right arm was a little bit out. I apologize, Mr. Coffin. Please.
That's all right. This is the handicap factor.
Yeah.
All right. Well, annually, the Board of Education has the option to abate all or part of the debt service levy as if they determine that there's adequate resources to pay the required bond payments. This year's bond required payments are $3.1 million. In order to help the school board make that decision, we have put together two scenarios, and this is our standard, 5-year financial forecast, the elements, so we'll just click right through. Scenario 6 is our kind of what we call our base scenario, and was vetted by finance advisors and district administration. The main difference is, of course, we are looking at having the CPI, which is our biggest driver of revenue, actually increase slower than previously. Whoops. So we're at 0.8 is actual for the levy for 2015. That was based on the 2014 CPI, and then 1.517, and then 2.2. We do have adjusted in there. Now, we haven't updated it for, we're still working on staffing. You heard from Bob and Kitty. They're 12 down on junior high and elementary, but we're still working on high school and special ed. So right now, we just do have in there 6 lower. But then, so here's the results of what we kind of refer to as scenario 6, or our base, which shows that we're recommending not abating the debt service levy, but we would collect that levy, and then in 2018, we would pay off the remaining $9.5 million in bonds that are still outstanding. That would save the district $3.2 million in interest expense on those bonds. But it would, as we're projecting there, if nothing else changed, we would have at that end of 2020, we would have our cash reserve before taxes at 7.71%. Now, we did put together scenario 7, which really looks at the exact same model, but then does abate the taxes this year and has to make the required transfer, $3.14 million, to pay the debt service. If we did that, no other changes, we would have at 2020, our cash before taxes would be at 6.57%, well below the 10% guideline. And with that, there's the graph, and I just open it up for any questions.
So again, just to be clear, and this is our recommendation is that we not abate, and that was vetted through the Citizens Finance Advisory Committee, who supported that recommendation.
Any comments or questions? Kristen?
So I know you mentioned that you have the 6 FTEs and that we expect it to be probably more, but we're still working on that because we won't get the other numbers until April, so that wouldn't be included in here.
I'm going to speak to that a little bit. I wouldn't necessarily say we're expecting more. Mr. Ross is in the process right now working with the high school, and Assistant Superintendent for Student Services, Christine Igo, is not here. We are anticipating some recommendations for increased district special education staff. So I think it'd be a little bit premature to say that it could be, but I'm not prepared right now to say that it would go beyond that.
Okay. I also am wondering about, I know we looked at this in detail last week, or 2 weeks ago, when we were looking at the per pupil, and we're looking at working on our expenditures. This does not reflect that yet in this scenario, does it?
No, that's correct. The department budgets were due to the business office last Friday, and so we'll begin that process of looking at, and I know the board direction was very clear last time that we need to look at our expenditures and bring those expenditures down.
Will you have numbers that would be an updated scenario by our next meeting?
Probably not. I don't think
so.
No.
Yeah, I doubt it. We're just now getting all the department budgets in, and we're in the process of compiling them into the annual budget.
Mm-hmm. Any other comments or questions? Was your question answered? Any other?
Well, I have a question. So if we're moving towards, like Mike had brought up and like Kristen said at the last meeting, we're moving towards, we've always had a balanced budget for the year, but we're moving towards making it a policy where it's a balanced budget. So if you're looking out in our projections of revenue and expenditures, obviously from 2017 on, it's not balanced anymore.
Right, and so as you know, The 5-year financial projections is our quote roadmap that gives us the direction that we need to take into account when we're building the annual budget.
Right.
So we're already, as Superintendent Bridges alluded, we're already well into the process in this upcoming budget of making reductions that will put us on track to make sure that those red numbers disappear in future years.
Because this is the projection.
This is
not the budget.
that's the same point I was going to make. These are right projections if the assumption was made that there were no changes or modifications made.
Right. Okay, I'm just saying that will be, I mean, that as that's reflected, it will change this whole forecast.
That's correct, absolutely.
Right.
Okay, then I have one other question too. So, looking forward, when we're paying or buying back the bonds in 2018, we didn't abate last year in 2015, so you're recommending not 2016, and then in our forecast, you're recommending not, I know it's a year-by-year thing, but in the
Right.
forecast, you're recommending not 2017 and not 2018. So that's 4 years that we're not going to abate to pay back the $9 million, but those are 4 years at $3 million each, about a little over $3 million each, which is closer to $12 million, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. But it is a year-by-year decision, so we for
Right.
sure, looking out to 18, we would have collected the amount of money needed to buy back those bonds.
But we would have collected enough to buy back those bonds by 27, after 3 years, correct? 15, 16, 17?
Right, we didn't abate last year.
Right.
So we already collected 3.
Right.
This year, yeah, so we'll have.
So there's really no reason to forecast 4 years of not abate, but I mean, I mean.
Well, right, we can look
Okay.
at that.
Can I guess I would just like to weigh in on that. I'm always a little concerned when you look at everything in a specific silo. And the reason I say that is we talked about, during closed session about a bargaining agreement. Our CPI is going to be quite low, 0.8. Well, that's not going to be necessarily what teachers and people in our bargaining units can live with, nor would we want them to live with. So I think we have to look at, valid point, but we must look at things in a holistic standpoint. That's just really the only responsible thing to do, I think. So I understand the math, but I think we have to look at the overall budget. And I just want to make one other clarification as well. Mike brought up the point at the last meeting, and we have asked in our board prep meeting, Terry and I, we have asked that the administration look at what a policy would look like for a balanced budget. But I want the world to know the administrators have always brought a balanced budget. We're thinking, from a policy standpoint, as Kane mentioned tonight, press is kind of our go-to. They don't even have a policy on budgets. There isn't one out there. So is it a good thing for future boards and future administration? Probably. So that's why we'll take a draft and kick it around and talk about it at a meeting. I'm sorry, Michael?
Finish.
Oh, and talk about it at a meeting. So anyhow, I just want to make sure that clarification's made. It would just be good governance, and our administrators thought it would be a great idea as well. So we'll work on that clarification. Sure.
Okay. I just want to say that I appreciate so much what you've been doing. Don't misunderstand my questions. I'm trying to understand the numbers, and I know that we're working hard, and the administration is working hard at keeping everything where it needs to be. But my questions are only so that I can better understand. You live and breathe this, and we try to keep up, and I can't. So that's why I ask the questions that I do. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Michael.
I just wanted to make sure that I didn't misunderstand it based on Donna's comments. You have in this scenario 7, you have a potential abatement there for 2016. Right now, these numbers do not reflect any abatements in 17 or 18, correct? The numbers would turn bloody
Brighter
red if we were to abate more money in the future.
Right.
So I just want to make sure, because you said, well, if we abate all these years, I mean, these numbers are already ugly with just one abatement. That's all I'm pointing out. So,
Well,
and I also wanted to comment on one thing that I don't like plastic, but anyway.
That's clear. It's clear.
BPA free. But anyway, to me at least, there's two different things going on here. There's our budget and our expenditures and our revenues, and there's a $9.5 million debt. And the question is, what is best for our district, what is best for our community as far as that debt? In my mind, it's to pay it off. And the way to pay it off is to collect the money that we've abated a ton of it already and save the taxpayer that money and make it a permanent abatement. That doesn't necessarily solve, address, or deal with the other challenges we have as far as expenditures. To me, that's a totally different problem. We're collecting money, we're going to pay off that debt, and then we're going to move forward. So to me, they're related, obviously, because if we abate, then we take the money away from our students. But, still, to me, I don't want to commingle them too much. To me, it's paying off a debt, collecting the money to do that, because I hate debt. So.
And plastic.
And plastic. That is plastic. That was symbolic as I
it was
threw away the plastic.
I like that, Michael. Okay, doke. Good questions. Yes.
I have one other thing that I think is an additional factor, and none of us have mentioned. I know we all have it in our mind as well, but I do think that there is the additional factor of the state legislation pending that would reduce our revenue. And I wish that I could ask you, well, will that pass or not? Because that obviously would be.
Brad would know that.
But exactly, I wish you did.
Yeah,
but that is something that adds to the picture, and I think that for me, that is one of the difficult factors. Dan and I were in Springfield 2 weeks ago, right after the board meeting, and heard the governor's address, and were able to meet with our legislators as a part of the leadership day for the Illinois Association of School Boards and IASBO and all the other organizations. And it gave us a picture as clear as mud. I mean, we had a person who said for sure they're implementing pensions, and we had another person saying no, they won't implement pensions. We had people saying you're going to be held harmless under Senate Bill 1. You had people saying no, Senate Bill 1 is going to be harmful and it's going to pass for sure. I mean, it's property tax freeze, no property tax freeze. Pretty much we heard from many different people a whole variety of different scenarios. And I think that that's one of the difficulties for us as a board looking at the future is that, as has been mentioned many times, we have to agree for our budget without knowing the full picture of our revenue. Obviously, those bills, should SB 1 pass, which is the most punitive, it would be phased in. So let's hope we wouldn't have the same kind of hit that we would take over time in the first year. However, that is, I think, a compelling factor in looking at this picture. From my perspective, I think it would be helpful, though, for us to have the most up-to-date information that we can as we're trying to make the decisions, which to me would be looking at adjusting the expenditures level according to the target that we have for any kind of expenditure reduction in our budget, just so that we can see how that plays out. It probably won't get rid of all the red. It might impact the red a little bit. It certainly won't give us any more clarity about the revenue from the state. But I think, from my perspective, I would like to see how that addresses the picture as soon as we can.
I'm concerned that it gets arbitrary. We'll just say, but everybody's entitled to their opinion, of course, right? Go ahead.
So Brad, just looking at the raw numbers, the most prudent decision seems to be to go ahead and collect the money, pay off the debt, because when we get to your end of your projection in 2020, we actually have $3 million more than we would have had if we abated. And I think to me, that's the only number to look at, is how much cash we have in our pocket at the end of the day, which is in 5 years. Because you can play around with the numbers in any way you want to and make them say anything you want, but the fact that if we collect the money, pay it off, and we're in better shape 5 years now than we are right now, that's the win for me.
Absolutely. And like you said, we can't predict the future, but one thing we can predict is if we collect this revenue over the next couple of years, we pay off the $10 million, 9.5 more, that's that much less in debt and puts us in that much stronger financial position, and I think the community expects that.
Great. Thanks.
Any other comments, questions? Thank you. Good discussion. Our last, I'll be going to that program for the two in-service, the microphone school for in-service on that. Our last agenda item this evening, again without action, is the Board of Education meeting calendar for 2015-2016.
Okay, annually, the Board of Education will act on the proposed calendar for meetings for next year. That's loaded for you in board docs. Pretty typical with a couple of exceptions. What's typical is 2 meetings per month, and in most months, the first and third Monday of every month, with exception of when there's holiday, and that would be in September, and that would be in February. Also, well, I'm going to get to that in a second. Yep.
That's
okay.
a special
That's a
thing.
special one.
That's a special.
In the months in which students are in attendance, we have 2 meetings. The month where we don't have students in attendance, July, we only meet once, the business meeting on the 3rd Monday. When we look at the way the winter vacation falls in the 2015-2016 school year, it begins on a Wednesday and ends on a Tuesday. And as in board prep, as we looked at options, the recommendation I'm bringing to you is that for the month of January 2016, we would shift to the 2nd and 4th, which would mean our meeting would be on Monday, January 11th, and Monday, January 25th. A couple of things that would do is our kind of practice is that when students are not in session, we don't meet. And so since we would be still in the winter holiday, the winter vacation on the 1st Monday in January, that would be consistent with that. And also the 3rd Monday falls as the Martin Luther King birthday, and so we wouldn't have met on that day anyways. We typically shift that to the Tuesday. The only challenge, not necessarily challenge, just to be aware of, is that we would meet in back-to-back weeks between January and February. But I think in terms of thinking about when staff takes vacation time themselves, adequate preparation for a meeting, this is probably, I would recommend that this be the better model for 2016. We'll take any questions.
And just, if I can jump in real quickly, Terry and I, when we met with Dan, when Dan encourages his staff to take vacation time when students aren't in session, to come back and have, after a 2-week break, and have a meeting, those are meetings that are generally 20 minutes. It's not a good use of anyone's time. So, for the vetting process and all. But any comments or questions on the schedule? So again, the only month that we're going to do 1 meeting, I know we've gone back and forth sometimes. If kids are in school, we're here 2 meetings a month, would be in the July time.
It's easier for us to say that if there's not enough substance for a meeting in, say, August or June, whatever, to cancel a meeting than to come back and add it. So if we say we don't have business that we need to conduct, it's easier to just take a meeting off the agenda.
Thank you. And again, all these items we've just discussed will come back with action at our next meeting. And that leads me to the upcoming events. If anybody has
a good catch by one of our board members. Anticipating that there may be a number of candidates running for the Board of Education, Home and School had intended to host a board candidate forum on March 10th. That can be removed from the calendar. They will not be doing that. So I do know NUEA is hosting a meeting, an open forum tomorrow at Lincoln Junior High School from 7 to 8:30 for our 3.
To meet the candidates.
To meet the candidates, correct.
Nicely done. Sounds great, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Great.
Second.
A motion and a second. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much. And our next meeting will be on the 16th of March. Thank you very much, everyone.